It began long ago on the battlefields of the great console wars. Two game design leads sought to harness the powers of history and science fiction lost for centuries. They believed their efforts would assure Treyarch's ultimate victory. But they could never have imagined what their efforts would unleash. My name is Archive 42, and I'm going to tell you how this really began.
The year is 2012. Deep inside Treyarch headquarters, the campaign team lead Jason Blundell and Kevin Drew would be cooking up an idea that would forever change Call of Duty Zombies forever. And yes, I am referring to the Ballista Walleye.
I'm here to double down. That shit is a two-pack of ass. The fuck are you talking about? That shit stinks.
Origins was released on August 27th, 2013. A moment as iconic to when Michael Jackson moonwalked across the stage for the first time, or when the Berlin Wall came down, so tiny stuff like that. Zombies map that blends science fiction and history and conspiracy so well that you might have to squint to really see the lines. Just don't look at the giant robots walking across the Western Front in 1918, and definitely watch out for their feet. Jason Blundell and Kevin Drew came up with the idea for Origins as a way to unify and create a starting point for the Call of Duty Zombie storyline, which at this point was a fucking mess. So they sought to create an official starting point for the Ether storyline, and what better place to start than the battlefields of the Great War. Jason Blundell's philosophy of design, which bleeds through beautifully on this map, as it did on his previous works on Mob of the Dead, showing off deep storytelling through intricate details and complex Easter egg steps that blend the history of World War I with the elemental spiritual feel of the crazy place, the elemental staffs, and the excavation site. But what if I were to tell you a very similar event that actually happened during the First World War? It's September of 1914. World War I is still in its first year, and the Germans are hungry to knock their biggest rival, Russia, out of the war early. The Russians at this point are stonewalling the Germans from breaking further into the Eastern Front. Vital choke point was being held by the Russians. A massive garrison of 800 Russian soldiers was stationed at Ozowiec Fortress. Capturing the fortress was a part of a larger offensive for German high command. The Germans attempted to take the fortress 2 times in February and March of 1915, using conventional artillery and infantry charges, resulting in massive casualties. But you know what they say, third time's the charm. This is Paul von Hindenburg, a German military officer, and if it looks like he fights dirty, you'd be right. Looking into von Hindenburg's history, it's not looking good. Found out that after World War I, he became president of Germany from 1925 to 1934. I also found out that he played a role in the Nazi seizure of power by appointing Adolf Hitler as the Chancellor of Germany. Just really good stuff all the way around. Bringing it back to 1915, von Hindenburg, looking at the 2 previous attacks that failed, he thought to himself, why don't we just use chemical weapons on them? It's a German classic. Using chlorine and bromine gases to flush out the Russian positions, leading to an easy capture. Now you're probably sitting there thinking to yourself, well, this plan is FUBAR. The Russians surely have protective gear, gas masks, and the like. The gas would have minimum effects, right? Well, they maybe kind of sort of didn't have gas masks or any protection whatsoever. Approximately at 4 a.m. on August 6th began a massive artillery bombardment of thousands of gas shells, and immediately followed by releasing a wave of chlorine and bromine gas, devastating the Russian defenders. The gas was reportedly so extreme that it corroded the defenders' weapons instantly and killed the remaining trees for miles. Sometime after the initial gas attack, 12 German battalions, an estimated 7,000 men, began their advance towards the fortress, expecting little to no resistance, slowly making their way through the lingering gas and the bodies of hundreds of dead Russians, when suddenly, out of the fog, what appeared to be zombies arose out of the fog. Dozens of Russians bloodied and coughing up heaps of blood, bile, and chunks of lung tissue. The chlorine in their lungs turned into hydrochloric acid, dissolving their organs. The Russians mounted a counterattack led by Lieutenant Kalinsky. This absolute Chad looked at the situation around him, and he's down to 60 men. Originally had 800. They're all having the insides of their bodies dissolved by the chlorine in their bodies. And a force of roughly 7,000 Germans are advancing on their position. And what does this Chad, this absolute alpha, do? He chooses to attack. So what's the lesson here? Ask her out. Ask that girl out, because I guarantee you it is not going to be nearly as bad as what these fuckers had to go through on this day. I would almost guarantee it. Gripped by terror, the Germans were so terrified they broke rank and retreated, and got caught up in the Russians' barbed wire. As they retreated, the remaining Russian artillery guns concentrated their fire on the previous Russian trench line that are now occupied by the Germans. In the attack, sadly, Lieutenant Kalinsky, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, was mortally wounded and would later die that night. Rest in peace, real one. Unfortunately, the Russians simply didn't have the manpower to defend the fortress against the seemingly endless number of Germans, so the remaining Russian forces demolished the fortress and retreated on August 18th. So that is the story of the attack of the Dead Men, and I just want to clarify that I am not saying that Jason Blundell or Kevin Drew took any inspiration from the attack of the Dead Men, and that led to anything in Origins. I just wanted to tell the story about zombies in World War I, just softly similar to Origins. If you've made it this far in the video, I appreciate you watching this far, and if you enjoyed it, don't forget to slam the like button, and I hope every one of you has an amazing day.